Hello, my name is Luke Bowman. I'm a senior at Northern Arizona University. I'm going to be giving a presentation for a class called Park and Rec Management 498C. My presentation is going to be on a research paper that was entitled Plastic, Steel, and Rubber versus Dirt, Wood, and Imagination. An in-depth look between comparing the models of the traditional model of the playground versus the natural model of the playground. All right. What do you see when you see this? Do you see just a chair? Do you see a log? To me, this could be a spaceship. It could be a race car. It could be a ship. It's all in the imagination. And to me, this is this is part of a much bigger picture. This is an example of a natural playground. So this uses a lot of natural elements like trees, like stumps, boulders, a lot of living plants like grass and flowers, a lot of wood chips, pine cones, sticks, things like that. It really makes children use their imagination because it's not something that's right in front of them like a traditional model. It is something that they need to transform in their minds and make it into something that's different. All right, so my whole argument is what are the benefits of natural playgrounds versus traditional playgrounds for kids between the ages of 4 and 12? All right, and I'm going to clarify what I mean by a natural playground and a traditional playground. All right, so here's the breakdown. I'm going to introduce, I'm in the middle of introducing, I'm going to do a literature review, I'm going to do a current application, I'm going to show future issues and concerns of my argument. All right, so let's think back. Think back to when you were a kid at middle school. What sort of playground did you play on at recess? Was it wood? Was it steel? Was it plastic? Was it something like this? Or something like this? So we have a lot of wood elements, a lot of plastic and steel in this one. These are examples of traditional model. I'll break that down in a little bit. So what is the need for a playground? So playgrounds have changed significantly since about the late 1800s, and that was due to people kind of congregating together, living in cities, living in towns. Back in the early 1800s, there's a lot more space, a lot of rural areas. So kids were forced to use what was around them. And that could be stones, it could be trees, stumps, twigs, things like that. But as people started congregating together and those elements were taken out, parents and researchers saw the need for a playground. So they started developing what is now known as the traditional model. So let's break down the traditional model and the natural playground model. All right, so this is a natural playground model. This particular picture was taken from a company called the Natural Playground Company, and it's from Woodstock, Illinois, which is very close to where I live. So natural playgrounds are made out of mainly unfixed structures. They do have slides that are plastic because if you had a slide out of wood, we'd be worried about splinters. But there's a lot of non-fixed elements that give kids the ability to use their creativity and their imagination. So, like I said, the natural playgrounds are 1/3 fixed, like maybe the slides and the boulders, and 2/3 unfixed, like the twigs, the pine cones, the dirt, the plant, or the things like that. And they're made up of rocks, dirt, water, wood, and like I said, they make the children use their imagination. All right, so here is an example, or here's supplies. So it's very simple, a lot of things that are just around us all the time, but with the right knowledge and know-how, they can be put together into a very useful playground. All right. Here is a traditional model. This is a very good example. So the ground, it's not wood chips. It's kind of a rubber mat, which is kind of squishy, which makes it nice for if you were to jump off the second story, like it's kind of a nice landing, but it's very fixed. The ground is fixed. The structures are fixed. There's bright colors, which attracts children, but there's not a lot of moving objects. So the kids can use this whole thing and use their imagination for that, but it's very fixed. It's kind of limits their ability and their creativity. So traditional model is 2/3 fixed, 1/3 unfixed. They're made up of mainly plastic, wood, steel, and aluminum. So this whole model kind of came out of the late 1800s, and it really hasn't been changed since then. All right, so we're going to look at researchers and what they've found on why natural playgrounds are better than traditional playgrounds. We're going to look at the current applications, like the company Natural Playground Company. We're going to look at future issues and concerns and why these reasons need to be looked at and how we can prevent issues and concerns in the future. All right, so let me introduce you to our researchers. So this is part of our literature review. Susan C. Matthews is from the University of Florida, and she wrote a study called Adventure Playgrounds versus Traditional Playgrounds. So she was looking at the playground as a whole and how that playground influences kids, because when they're young, I mean, they're like sponges. They're soaking everything in. They really need the ability to use their creativity. So she's looking at the whole playground as a whole, and then I have Pinar Mouton. She wrote a thesis called "The Effects of Traditional Playground Equipment Design in Children's Development." So she's breaking down. So Matthews looks at the whole playground as a whole. Mouton is looking at the design, the things that make up that playground, and how they affect children's development. Because, like I said, kids are like sponges. All right. So, like I said earlier, there's been little change to the traditional model since the late 1800s. I can think of, since I was a kid, which really wasn't that long ago, but since then, the model has changed. Like, the structures aren't as tall, they're not made out of steel, and we've kind of learned from our mistakes, because those having tall structures and very hard objects may result in broken bones and concussions and things like that. So a lot of liability has been fixed. So natural playgrounds are, and the reason why there was a change, why there needed to be a change, why the traditional model was created, was because the kind of our rural open areas were being taken away as people started moving together and creating suburbs and cities and towns. All right. So the concept of the natural playground has been around for a very, very long time. It's one of the firsts. But the design of the playground that we know of today was kind of first started in about the 50s in Europe. And it's been very slow to catch on in America because of liability issues and because it's changed. Nobody likes change. But because of the economic downturn in 2008, the idea of natural playground areas seems a lot more plausible, and it's kind of catching on a little bit more. All right. So playgrounds are important in the role of children's in their development, because it builds them socially, it builds them emotionally, it builds them physically, and it builds their character because it tests their friendship, it builds trust. So having a playground, there is a need. So I'm not saying there isn't a need, I'm saying that there's a need for us to really look at the model and how we're playing. So the idea of having unfixed objects like the natural playground is needed, and it needs to be looked at. All right, so Mouton says that for a child, being outdoors is the only chance to explore their surrounding world. So we are faced with a society that technology is at its core. Really, everyone has a screen, if not a dozen screens, whether that be their phone, their TV, their computer, their iPod, their iPad. So we kind of need to force ourselves to get outside, and there's a living world out there that we could miss. So as parents, we need to really look at how we kind of make our kids go outside and experience the world. 50 years ago, it wasn't as hard because we didn't have as much at our fingertips. We have the internet, we have we just have so much information that we could stay inside for years and really not even notice. I mean, maybe not years, but we could stay inside for a while. Because we could talk to people around the world using FaceTime and Skype and all those things. So we really need to kind of force ourselves to get outside and explore the world. There's a lot of really cool things that we could miss. So natural playgrounds really make us kind of dig in and explore. All right, so another thing, like because we have so much technology, kids today kind of lack enthusiasm to get outside. And I don't blame them because they have like the world on their fingertips. But we need to kind of instill in them this excitement of the world outside of them, where we came from. And if we're not careful, we need to really take care of our world. We only get one chance. So kind of being outside, playing on a natural playground makes us see the plants and kind of makes us learn about botany and agriculture and things like that. So it's very important. It's things that we could miss by playing on the traditional model. All right, so let's look at the current applications. So the picture that I showed earlier was from a company called the Natural Playground Company. They're out of North Carolina. They are one of the leading companies in this field of natural playground. They've done a lot of research. They've shown the need, and they're very cost effective. They're very efficient, and they are a great example of what I like to see in our community today. Let's look at them a little bit more. So the Natural Playground Company helps kids develop physically, mentally, socially, and that's because they build a model that really enforces this. So Newton and Matthews showed the need in their studies that kids are sponges. They need creativity. They need enthusiasm. The traditional model is a little bit more upkeep because there's a lot more living things. It's just better for the environment. It's better all around. It's better long term. All right, so the role for playgrounds is very, it's evident. The natural playground has been around for a long time. It's kind of the historic model, but I really kind of plead with you that we need to go back to that model. That's especially in today's age where technology is just everywhere. We have everything at our fingertips. We need to step back, take a breather, get outside. And I think the tradition or the natural model really enforces that. So the future of the playground is up to us. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do with this information? I implore you to, after we've really you've never really given this any thought, the playground. It's just something that you went and played and burned off a few calories. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than just playing. And just the model itself is something that we really need to look at. So I implore you to really go out in your neighborhoods, go out in your area, look at the models and see how you can change this. Because we only get one shot at this world that we live in. And the natural model is better all around for just growth, for child development, and for the environment. So, what are the benefits of the natural playground versus traditional playgrounds for kids between the ages of 4 and 12? It makes them play outside. It gives them a chance to not play with technology. Maybe it inspires them to be something that they wouldn't have been if they didn't get outside. Maybe that's an environmentalist and agriculture and things like that. So take this information, and I hope that it makes you a better person. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.